Okay, good morning everyone. Topic for today's sermon is Our God is Able and Available. I made an attempt to translate to Mandarin. I do apologize to our Mandarin brethren that it may not be accurate, but it's as much as what Google Translate can do for me. Okay. A man was once enjoying a peaceful and quiet ride in his boat downstream. Then he heard the roar of rapids up ahead, and it became louder and louder. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this man was enjoying a nice and peaceful ride in his boat one day down the stream, and he heard the roar of rapids up ahead, and it became louder and louder. Before he knew it, he was swept into white waters, and being his first time, he was terrified, and the feelings of uncertainty, fear and insecurity all at the same time. Riding through the white waters was a frightening and a white-knuckled experience. And then it was over, at least until the next set of rapids. For many of us, our life experiences are sometimes likened to the man who came face to face with the rapid. We will be cruising through life, happy that everything is going our way. But then, life is unpredictable, and we go through changes in our life. These changes come uninvited and unpredictable, and plunge us into the white water experience. The inevitable leads from one season of life to the other, from college to career, changing jobs, losing jobs, living with parents to living alone, or living with a spouse, married to divorce, career to retirement, youth to old age, healthy to disabled, are all marked by uncertainty and insecurity. Life is indeed full of uncertainties and challenges. The storms of life may hit us anytime. One day everything is fine, and the next day your whole world is turned upside down. My own sister on Monday woke up and decided to go to her back garden to pluck some beans from her small veggie patch. She stood on a milk crate and fell backwards. She broke her lower back. She ended up in hospital for the whole week with lots of pain. And now her life will never be the same again. She has been told that she has stopped doing so many things that she's enjoyed doing in the past. These sorts of heartbreaking stories keep coming. A loving mother suddenly packs up and leaves the family. Parents who struggle with the loss of their teenage children through accidents or suicide. A quiet retirement that is marked by a string of health issues and concerns. Loved ones diagnosed with terminal cancer. A change of management and you lose your job. These two stories can go on and on because we are living it. How much can a man handle bombardment of bad news? Are we able to bear under such weight? Where do we go for help when struggles and pains threaten to shake our faith and steal every ounce of joy? Personally, I find a lot of comfort and strength in reading the Psalms during such difficult times. Therefore today, I'd like to share with you Psalm 46, which is one of my favorite psalms. It's written by the sons of Korah. They are descendants of Korah who are known to be singers in the temple of God in the Old Testament. Psalm 46 can be broken up into three parts. The three parts are all identical, identified with the ending Selah. Each part of the psalm paints a picture. As we read, I want us to visualize the psalmist's description of God's help and power. Let's begin. Part 1. God is with us. Part 1. God is with us. There are three parts. If God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth shall change, and though the mountains slip into the heart of the sea, though the waters roar and foam, though the mountains quake and the swelling cry. The psalm begins describing the confidence that we can have in our Lord. God is a refuge for us. Refuge means a place we flee for shelter. There's usually a place where one flees in time of danger. A big storm, a big strong wall, a high tower, or a fort, or a fortress. God is the one that we can run to in times of trouble. In Psalm 91, verse 4, David described beautifully the assurance of seeking refuge in God. David says, he will cover you with feathers. Under his wings you will find refuge. When we think of refuge and protection, we don't automatically, we think of bricks and stones. We don't think of feathers. Though a bird feather may seem flimsy form of protection, however, there's more to it that meets the eye. Bird feathers are an amazing example of God's design. There are two parts. The outer part is smooth, and the lower part is fluffy. The smooth part, the outer part, has stiff barbs with tiny hooks that locks together like a zipper. The fluffy part of the bird keeps the bird warm. Together, both parts of the feathers protect the bird from wind and the rain. But many baby birds are covered in fluffy down. Okay? They are not fully developed. So the mother bird had to cover them in the nest with her own feathers to protect them from the wind and the rain. So the picture here where David says, he will cover you with feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. It's a picture of God covering us with his feathers. It's one of comfort, protection, refuge. God's comforting presence, promise, and assurance provides us safety, protection, and refuge from the storms of life. Though we go through troubles and heartaches, we can face them without fear, as long as our faces are turned towards God, trusting him. He is our refuge. Psalm 91, verse 2. I will say to the Lord, my refuge, my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. God is our strength. This means that God is the source of strength to those who are weak, defenseless, and we can rely on him for our strength. As an illustration, when adversity and hardship come to our lives, if we rely on our own strength and effort, we will be too weak and will be crushed and collapse like this tin can. However, if we rely on God's strength, then we will feel safe and secure. Therefore, we can go to God and ask him to strengthen us from within. Then only will we be able to withstand the pressures from without. True, we also get support from loved ones and friends. but it is our spiritual inner man that is to be strengthened with God's strength. Only God can sustain and keep us from crumbling. David knew this. Let's turn to Psalm 28. Psalm 18 verse 29. Where David says, "For you I can run upon the troop, and by my God I can leap over the wall." Remember, at this time, David was being pursued by King Saul, being chased by King Saul. And yet, he says, by God's strength, he says, "For you I can run upon the troop, and by my God I can leap over the wall." And verse 32 and 33 says, "The God who girds me with strength and make my way blameless, he makes my feet like hinds' feet and set me upon high places. He trained my hands for battle so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze." Let's ask the Lord for strength when life's blows and burden press upon us, so that we will not cave in. The third part, God is our very present help in times of trouble. The Hebrew text here means God is found an exceedingly great help in time of trouble. From the pages of the Bible and from experience of God's people can say with confidence that He is always able and available to help those who humbly turn to Him in times of trouble. I'd like to tell you a story to illustrate this point. A man once walked outside his office, and he was amazed to see a beautiful flower growing through the cracks between the concrete slabs covering the ground. Despite the dry surrounding and difficult circumstances, the plant somehow or other found a foothold and rooted itself in the dry crack and was flourishing. However, later he noticed that there was an air conditioning unit located directly above the plant, dropping water on it throughout the day. While its surrounding was hostile, the plant received the very present help it needed from the leaking aircon to keep it going. God is our very present help in times of trouble. This reminds me of a passage in Jeremiah. In Jeremiah 17, verse 7 to 8, Jeremiah says, "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and whose trust is in the Lord. For he will be like a tree planted by the water, that extends its roots by a stream, and will not fear when heat comes. But its leaves will be green, and it will not be anxious in the year of the drought, nor cease to yield fruit." Christian life can be difficult at times. We may encounter unsurmountable problems. Yet, if we turn to God during our times of trouble, we can flourish like the flowering plant in the crack, and the plant that is planted beside the water. Part 2. So part 1 is God is for us. Part 2, God is with us. Let's read together Psalm 46, verse 4 to 7. "There is a river whose stream makes glad the city of God, the holy dwelling places of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She will not be moved. God will help her when the morning dawns. The nations made an uproar, the kingdoms tottered. He raised his voice and the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold." The psalmist began by describing the city where God abides and where we can be with him and he will help us. Let's look at the verse closely. "Those who are in the city of God will be glad. They shall not be moved, nor fear because God is with them. This reminds me of John's vision in Revelation, where in Revelation 22, verse 1 to 2a, he says, "Then he showed me a river of water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of God and of the Lamb. And in the middle of the street, on either side of the river was a tree of life." Chapter 21, verse 3, "And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he will dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God shall be among them." The psalmist is saying that all who are with God will be saved and protected by him. Even if nations are in uproar, there will be no match for God. By his voice the nations will totter and the earth will melt. In God we are secure and safe, invisible, unconquerable. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8, verse 31. Now to the last part. God will be exalted. God is for us. God is with us. God will be exalted. Psalm 46, verse 8 to 11. "Come, behold the works of the Lord, who has brought desolation in the earth. He makes wars to cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bows, he cuts the spears into two, he burns the chariots with fire. Cease striving and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I'll be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold." In the third part of this psalm, we read about the Lord's work and how the Lord is victorious. The psalmist encouraged worshippers to come and see the works of the Lord, particularly that the people may notice the desolation that God has brought to the earth. Verse 9 describes how our Almighty God has the power even to make wars cease and put an end to wars. He breaks the bows and cut the spears into two. He burns the chariots with fire. The expression here may refer to a custom of collecting the spoils of war, including bows, spears, and chariots, into a heap and setting them on fire. This was particularly done when victors are unable to remove them or to prevent them ever to be used again for fighting. The idea here is God has wholly overthrown the foe, the enemy, and has prevented all dangers of ever returning again for the purpose of conquest. These verses describe the power of God and the destruction over the earth. It also shows God's mighty power over wars and how he can stop the wars. Psalm 46, verse 10. "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." In the midst of the tumult and troubles, we must not be worried. Instead, we have to learn to stop. We have to learn to be still and trust God. In the end, God will be exalted. The psalmist encouraged his listeners to be still, to cease striving, stop doing things our way, and finding success to our own human effort. Isn't it true? When we hear bad news, one of the first things we do is we go into a period of bereavement. And then we think, what can I do? What can I do? Which doctor can I see? What specialist? Who can I turn to? However, God says, you become very worried. God says, stop. Be still and know that I am God and I will be exalted. When we let go, trusting our own wisdom and trust God, then we can understand the mighty works done by God. Then do we fully know that our God is great. When the kings of Assyria has devastated all the countries, Isaiah the prophet asked the Lord for help. In Isaiah 37 verse 20, he declared, Now, O Lord our God, deliver us from his hands, that all kingdoms of the earth may know that you alone, Lord, are God. So even in the midst of all the destruction, all Isaiah can say is, he stood back, he stopped, and he says, God, now deliver us, so that all the nations of the earth will know that you alone are God. And of course, God did that. So in conclusion, from our lesson today, when we face the storms of life, let us remember to turn and run to God for refuge, for our God is able and available. Remember the lesson from Psalm 46. God is for us. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in times of troubles. Secondly, second part, God is with us. God is always available. He cares and protects us. Third, God will be exalted. Let go and learn that Jehovah is God. Be still and know that I am God. He will be exalted in all the earth. Whatever our future will be, let us put our trust and our hope in him, for he will be with us. Thank you.